Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, Romantics. I'm here with author Michelle Miles to talk about her new YA romantasy, Once Upon an Enchanted Castle. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Can you show us your beautiful book? I don't
Sure.
have a physical copy of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this
it's
is
just such a
it.
gorgeous cover.
It is a gorgeous cover. It's very thick. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's what it looks like. It's a beautiful cover. I love it. I'm very fortunate to have such a great cover artist. She just gets me. So I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. Oh, good, good. It's always nice whenever you or I have one for the books that I have too, and it's fabulous when you have a cover designer who wants the cover. Not that they all don't, but it's just you can tell that they really want to make the cover perfect for
Yeah.
you, and they don't get impatient if you ask them to change one more little thing about it or whatever. It's just always really nice.
It
Like
is. And
happy with the cover.
she's so good too. And the actually this was a pre-made and I
Ah,
saw it
nice.
and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my Beauty and the Beast book." And so I could not hit buy fast enough,
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
she's
yeah.
done a few others for me, and actually she does all my covers, and she's just amazing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
great, great, great. Well, this is just a fun interview for many reasons. I was on your show
Yes.
not too long ago, Miles Beyond the Page,
Yep.
and so it's nice to have a fellow podcaster. But I always like to ask, how does it feel to be on the other side of the mic?
Yeah, it feels good. I like being a guest
Yeah.
too. It is fun to run my own show too. I do have a lot of fun doing that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And if folks haven't bumped into your podcast yet, I highly recommend it. You have a lot of great authors on there, and you talk about
Yeah.
writing and publishing
Yeah.
and all sorts of things. You cover just the gamut. So if anybody's really interested in learning more about writing and publishing and the authors that you have on your podcast, by all means, go click on that and you've got several up there that they can enjoy, several episodes they can enjoy.
Yep, and more coming starting July 1st. I have a lot of really great sort of bigger name authors coming up, so I'm real excited about that.
Oh,
So,
very good, very good. All right.
yeah.
Well, you've put your newfound vocal skill set to work by narrating your own audiobooks.
I
So,
do.
what was that experience like?
I really wanted to have my books in audio, and it's really hard to find a narrator that doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to take them wide, and I didn't want to be locked into a royalty share contract anymore. I've done
Hmm.
that. I do have several books that are still. And the narrator was great. I loved working with her. She was fantastic. She did my Wizard King books and my Realm of Honor books. But I just really wanted to be able to sort of spread my wings a little bit and narrate them myself and put them out wide and sell them direct. And so I started doing it. It is not easy. You think it is. It's not just sitting there reading the book though. It's voice acting and sort of learning how to bring those characters to life in a different way, in an audio way. And I've done 5 or 6 of them now. I've done quite a few, and my sister's my beta listener because she listens to tons of ebooks or yeah, tons of audiobooks, and so I'll send her my files and, like, "Let me know what you think," and this last book, she's like, "Okay, you just need to quit your job and narrate." So, I feel like I'm
That's
getting
great. What
better,
a
so it's
compliment.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but I know my books. I know my books so well. I know how my characters are supposed to act and sound and be and do. And I'm really having a blast narrating my urban fantasy series that it's all told in first person. And that character, she's a mess, but she's just so fun. And I really know her and her character. And so I can really bring those stories to life.
Now, have you written a book after you started narrating? Not the same book, but just have you written a manuscript after you've done narrating for your audiobooks?
You mean the same book or a different
No,
book?
no, just a different book. And have you any manuscript? Have you written any manuscript after that?
No, well, yeah, I've done like I'm getting ready to do the audio for Enchanted Castle. So,
Okay.
yeah, I try to write the book first, and then I go in through and do the narration for that book. So,
Yeah, the reason I was asking is uh I think it might have been Joanna Penn who mentioned after she started narrating her own books that she realized that her writing style
oh,
changed to try and make it a little bit more audiobook friendly. Now, I
I
don't
see
know
what you're saying.
exactly what that means,
I
but I
can tell
guess
you.
yeah, less wordy or something in some areas. I'm not really sure,
Yes,
but
that and like my urban fantasy chapters were so incredibly long. I mean, it's like 30 minutes for a chapter. So it was a conscious decision for me, like, I'm writing shorter chapters because it takes so
yeah.
long to narrate them. So yeah, I have changed my sort of my thought process on actually writing a book because I think about that now a little bit and how that will translate to audio. Maybe not for me as the narrator, but as somebody else that I would be hiring. So yeah, I'm writing shorter chapters.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. That's great. Well, besides podcasting, can
mhm.
you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your writing journey? What brought you to this point?
Sure. So I've been writing for a long time. I my first book was published in 2006 with Sam Hain. It was a contemporary romance, and that just was not for me. I mean, I was so happy to be published finally. I had been trying for a long time, but I really wanted to write fantasy. I just had not been. I wasn't not developed enough as an author to write the big fantasy novels, but I kept at it and I kept trying. And I wrote a time travel. I wrote a serial. Um, all of these publishers are now gone, but I wrote a serial, time travel serial for a publisher. And when they closed their doors, Sam Hain took it on and took it as a full length book. And so I got to work with a great editor who is also a writer now. She's writing horror, and so I really learned how to do that, how to create worlds, and then I loved it so much that I started writing. World. I love world building. I love doing that, and I
Yeah.
love writing fantasy. And there's just something about creating a whole world from scratch that's just exciting to me, and it's the unknown and it's fun, and I don't really do it consciously. I just sort of I want to write a book about, I don't know, I want to write a Cinderella retelling, for example. Like I had been really wanting to do fairy tales for a long time, and so I wrote my urban fantasy series, which is very dark and gritty, and I really wanted something light and fun and different. And so that's really kind of how I started writing. I joined RWA in think 2004. And then that really being part of that and part of the local chapters really helped me learn and grow and become a better writer. And then,
And for
and
those folks who aren't familiar with RWA, that's Romance Writers of
yes,
America. That's kind of the national, international, really uh, group of romance writers that we all belonged to at one point,
yeah,
and then it kind of imploded a little bit.
it did. It did.
And
They're trying to
yeah,
come back. So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
No, it
I'm
was great. I looked forward to those conferences every single
mhm,
year. I would come back home so energized and full of
yeah.
ideas and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's exciting. I mean, I'm still a member. I'm going to conference next month. I'm really looking forward to it, and connecting with some people, some new people, and meeting new faces and seeing old
Yeah.
faces.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that's great. Well, why don't you give us a quick overview of Once Upon an Enchanted Castle, where I think it's like the fourth book in the series, and just tell us a little bit about the whole thing.
sure, it is the fourth book, but all of these fairy tales can be read as a standalone. So I purposely write them. It's a connected world. So it's
Okay.
the Enchanted Realms. It's kingdoms. It's this huge kingdom that has fairy tale characters that live in it. Sort of like it's kind of like a Once Upon a Time, the TV show. Um, but I really love the idea of Beauty and the Beast. It was my favorite fairy tale when Disney came out with that movie. I loved it. I watched it all the time. But I wanted to do something different. So for me, for the heroine, she is a scribe. So she still loves books, but she can translate them. That's her magical gift. She can look at strange languages and translate them. And then for him, I didn't really want him to be a beast all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I decided, well, he's a shifter. So and his shifting a bit comes at the full moon, but in the book, because he's nearing the end of his, where he will be cursed forever, his curse changes so that he shifts every night. And it's tied to the new moon. So it's really there's a ticking clock. So she's got to change, she's got to figure out the translation of this mysterious book that her father gifts her. He's a merchant. He travels the seas, he brings back gifts to her every time, and he always brings her back something. And this was an unusual book that she just couldn't read. When she opened it, she
Yeah.
just couldn't understand it. And so things happen, and they end up in their country town, their country home, where she ends up meeting the hero Leopold, who I just fell in love with through the whole book. And he's cursed, and he hires her to. She tries to offload this book in the bookshop, the local village bookshop, and he sees it and he recognizes it, and so he wants to hire her to translate the book for him. So that's kind of how they meet. But yeah, it's a totally retelling. It's all about the curse and the magic and how she can. What is she going to do to break the curse? How can she break the curse? She has to read this book, which she can't read. So
Yeah. But she's a very, very determined scribe,
she
so.
is. She's very determined, and she's very interested in Leopold because he has an extensive library, and that's sort of what hooks her. He tells her, "You can use my library as a
Yeah.
as a resource," and she's really into libraries, so
And she has an affinity for snacks and little sandwiches
she
and things like
does.
that. That just wins her over. Yeah, you bet. Well,
Yeah.
you've created a beautifully imagined world from, like the character's wardrobe to the
Mhm.
castle to the actual magic itself. And even some things that we don't really think about, but they tend to always be there, like a governing system.
Mhm.
And so in one sense, it felt to me like it was a Regency-esque
Mhm.
type setting, but without all the kind of the confining society rules and the magic, of course. But how long did it take you to build this world, and where do you even start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really wanted to kind of combine, Regency slash Victorian worlds together. And what would that look like? I didn't want the constraining of the ton or any of that. I really wanted them to be able to move freely about. She lives in port with her father, who's the merchant. And so she's very familiar with everything that goes on in that village. But so things happen. So the house burns down in the port, and he has his ships are burnt down, and so that forces them to go to the country. And then I really started to think about what what happens if he's accused of smuggling. He's a
Mhm.
respected merchant, everybody knows who he is. He's not nobility, but the nobility know and respect him and admire him because he brings them all the fancy silks and the everything from
Yeah.
across the sea, so they can make beautiful dresses. And to me, that world was really about the textiles and what does it look like? What do they wear? How do they act with each other when they're in public? So it really kind of grew organically around the story. I had to think about, is her dad, I had to get the dad out of the way so she could have this story
Yeah.
with Leopold.
Right.
So what happens to him? I had to think that he goes back to port. What happens to him then? Is he arrested? And who's the controlling, who's in charge down there in the port? So, I came up with it. There's a port authority, and he gets thrown in the jail. And What happens to him in the jail? He has to go before the magistrate. And who's the magistrate? What is he doing? Why is he so interested? Well, there's rumors that he's a smuggler and he's got illegal goods on his ships. And now they think, he's kind of a smuggler. And what happens to
Hmm.
him? So I really wanted to think about that. But that's really kind of off stage for the actual book because I wanted to focus on what is she going through. She knows her father's not a smuggler. She knows things happened for a strange reason and it had nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with the book. So she just wants to go. She knows that she's driven to take on Leopold's offer of she's got to keep the house afloat. She's got to pay the bills. She
Right.
knows that the creditors are coming due and then she doesn't want them to be destitute. Because what happens to them if they lose their house and their money? I mean, they're
Hmm.
thrown out. They're peasants. She doesn't want to be a peasant.
Yeah. Right. Right.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I really thought about that, and most of the story takes place between her manor house in the country and his castle. And so when I thought about the castle, I was like, what does that look like if it's cursed? It's very sad, it's very dark, it is enchanted, but I didn't want to have the cast of characters like the Disney movie. I really wanted to do something different. He lives in solitude, he's mostly recluse, he has a valet slash butler that he hangs out with, that he's known all of this time since the curse was enacted, and
Hmm.
and he's the only companion that he has. He's the only person that he's ever talked to since this whole curse thing happened. So when she comes along and crosses his path, not only does he see this as an opportunity that he can finally break free of his curse, but she's a beautiful young girl.
Hmm. Yeah.
And though he doesn't feel like he deserves love, he just can't stop thinking about her, and he really wants her to come and help him. And then they sort of form a bond between each other
Hmm.
as she continues to see him. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's like I say, and there might be some things that you don't want to talk about because it would be a bit of a spoiler for
Yeah,
the book and that sort of thing. But yeah, so this you have it as a YA fantasy,
I do.
but it's probably an older YA,
Yes.
right? I would
Yeah,
say, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
would say that.
So
Yeah.
and it has it's a sweet slow burn romance.
Yeah.
It was adorable. I loved it a lot.
Thanks.
So I don't want folks to get the wrong impression because I called it a romantasy in the beginning that you're going to get fourth wing. You're not going to get fourth
No.
wing.
Yeah.
But it is just as good as fourth wing. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
It
bet.
I definitely wanted to do sweet romances again.
Yeah.
And sort of move away from the spicy. And these fairy tales really lend themselves to that. I just really wanted to explore that in a way where it's sort of an unrequited love.
Mm-hmm.
They pine for each other, especially in this book. They really start to pine for each other,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're both very, with society. Does she really want to let him know her feelings? No, she doesn't because of society, and
Right.
culture. That's their culture is, that unless he's asking her dad, can I court her? She's not gonna pursue that.
Right.
And
Right.
he's
Right.
not either because of his curse. But
Well, we all know it wouldn't be a proper fantasy without a prince living in an enchanted castle. So I know you've talked a little bit about the prince Leopold, but is
Mhm.
there anything else you can tell us about him? Maybe what inspiration you had when you developed him.
Yeah, I really loved him. He has fabulous clothes. Like he has and I wanted to so in the original fairy tale it's the enchanted rose, right? That is sort of their ticking
Yeah.
time bomb. But I didn't want to use that. I wanted to use something different. But those themes are all throughout the book, from her book reading, trying to read this
Yeah.
strange language of thorns and brambles and roses, to the stained glass window in his library, to even the clothes that he wears. So that theme is always there. It's all about sort of blooming, and it's about a love being bloomed. Bloomed,
Yeah.
that's not the right word.
Yeah.
It's about a
It's
love
sort of
blooming
blooming.
between the
Yeah.
two of them.
Yeah.
Um, and for him, he's carrying these deep wounds, as you know from reading the book, and he's physically and emotionally scarred by this curse, and he believes he's unworthy of love. So when she appears, it's not the attraction that just connects them. It's like a shared ache of feeling sort of broken and alone because she's alone. Her dad
Mm-hmm.
is gone. He's in the port. And she's afraid of what will
Yeah.
happen to her, and he's afraid what's going to happen to him if he falls in love with her. As she's going to be revolted by who he is. And that's what
Yeah.
he's really thinking about. And it's about facing those hard truths that we hide from each other. I
Mm-hmm.
think, even the ones, she may not realize she's carrying, and he certainly knows he's carrying that hidden truth of why he did it, why he's the beast at night.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to
Right.
reveal
Right.
that because it's a
Right.
bit of a
Right. Right.
spoiler. But yeah, so that's
Well,
where I came up with him.
so what you just mentioned there, that leads into a nice segue into my next question. The question I'll ask all my guests is it's talking about finding the story's undercurrent,
Hmm.
and it's like that second beating heart of the story that typically flows beneath the lover's journey. And
Yeah.
would you say well, I'll just ask the question is, what undercurrent do you think is flowing beneath Bella and Leopold's story?
I think it's about transformation, and it's about
Okay.
healing through truth and the power of love. What love
Okay.
can do to heal each other. So I think that's really the undercurrent of the
Yeah.
story between them.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes a story can have more than one undercurrent too.
Hmm.
So, but that's probably the predominant one. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
great. Well,
yeah,
you had mentioned trope earlier. Now it just slipped my mind what it was now. Unrequited love, I think is what you
yeah,
said.
yeah,
And of course, Beauty and the Beast is one of the tropes in
yeah.
here. Can you think of any other tropes that readers will look forward to when reading this story?
Yeah, so there's a cursed prince. He's trapped in his beastly form and believes he's beyond saving.
Yeah.
So that's really the core of Beauty and the Beast, right? It's looking um, beyond the skin deep.
Yeah.
I think forced proximity would be one of them, where she ends up at the castle where nowhere else to go, and she's trying to figure out how she can save him.
Yeah.
Um, and then probably maybe found family a little bit
Okay.
because they find each other. She only has her father, and he has his butler that he doesn't have anymore. He has no more family. So
Yeah.
so them being together is sort of a found family.
Yeah, no, that's
I'd
good. I
say,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always a
yeah,
fun one. Always a fun
yeah.
one. What have you read a romance novel recently that you really enjoyed and could share with us?
Oh yeah, I read a lot. I just finished. I was fortunate to get an arc for Gena Showalter's Kingdom of Tomorrow, which comes out in September. It is fabulous. It is got some Hunger Game vibes. It is also about a library, funny enough, where Arden, it's called the first in the series, it's the Book of Arden is the series. And Arden is the heroine, and she is forced into basically a military to save her mother from having to pay taxes on, there's a like a there's a weird sickness that goes along, and it was
Mm-hmm.
really, really, really well done. But of course,
Okay.
that's not out yet. But things that I had, something I have read recently. There is a series, and the author escapes me. It's called The Unseen. It's about pixies and just all kinds of different creatures in this world. It's really, really, really well done. I read so many that they all start to blend
Yeah.
together after a while, and I just
No,
judged
that's
the
great.
contest too. So I read for that contest. But yeah, there's just so many great books out there and fantasy. And um I wish I could remember the name of the author for that. Lila Glass, I think, is The Unseen. Really good book, and it's got a sequel, so I'm excited to read that one too. So
Okay. Great, great, great,
yeah.
great. Well, when you finish a book, what is it? What is your favorite thing that you like to do? How do you celebrate or treat yourself?
I drink a glass of wine.
All right. No, that's great.
That's the first thing I like to do. It's just it's a
Cheers.
really, yeah, it's a great moment when you finally finish that. It's like, yes, I did another one.
Yes, it
So
is.
yeah, I like to, celebrate with a favorite glass of wine and sit outside in my outdoor space.
All right, wonderful. Sounds perfect. Well, before we go, can you give us a hint of what's coming up next?
Sure, I am working on a Rapunzel retelling that's going to be a novella that's going to be related to the Enchanted Worlds. It's called Once Upon a Silver Strand, and she has long silver hair that's magic. And then the
Nice.
next full-length novel in the series will be a retelling on Poe's The Raven. So it's a very gothic
Okay.
romance with a haunted mansion. So I'm excited to get
Okay.
started on that one.
All right. Both of those sound great. Sound great. All right, folks. Well, when this episode airs, Once Upon an Enchanted Castle will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. Michelle, you can put up that book cover for us there
Sure.
again.
Yep.
Great.
There you go.
You can check out Michelle's gorgeous website at michellemiles.net. That's
Yep.
.net. And Michelle, what social media platform are you most active on?
I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram, so you can
Okay.
find me there for sure.
All
Yeah.
right. And do you have the same handle for both?
Yeah. I'm Michelle Miles, author on both of those, so you can find me
Okay.
there.
Nice and easy. All right,
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really loved being in your enchanted world that
Thank
you
you.
created. It was so much fun and can't wait to read more in the Enchanted Realms series. That's great.
Th-
I love the
Thanks,
name.
Tracy. Thank
You
you. I loved
betcha.
being here.
Thanks. Many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.